What's up, guys? So today I've got this really cool old car to show you. It's my 1953 Oldsmobile, so let's check it out. So this is an Oldsmobile Super 88. It is a two-door. From what I can tell, it's all original and it's very complete. This car was parked in storage, I was told, sometime in the 80s. It has all the hubcaps on there. It's the original paint job. All the trim is there. None of the windows are even cracked. Overall, it's a pretty solid car. It's not perfect. It does have some rust on it over here, which is to be expected from a Minnesota car. We got a little rust here above the wheel well, and then there's a spot back here in the bumper. A little rust there in the front fender and above the headlight. Overall, the body's pretty solid. There is a little bit of rust in the floors. We can see a spot in the trunk and the spare tire well, which I will show you. There is a little spot here in the front of this wheel well also. I don't think we can see it, but it goes up through the floor. So open up the trunk here. There's a small rust spot here. And if we pull the spare tire out, and see we got a hole there in the spare tire well. Definitely the worst spot on the entire car. But we do have the spare tire with it, the jack. You can see the trunk is a little dirty. There's a mouse nest in there from being stored so long. Also, the latch here wasn't working with the key anyways, so I ended up taking the seat off, climbing through the back here and unbolting the latch so we could get the trunk open. We will fix that. So you can see we got all the lettering here on the back, Rocket 88 emblem, cool 88s. At one time, someone did make a turn signal repair here, which actually doesn't even work. We do have the bezel and the lens inside the car, which we will be putting on. I'll show you that here when we look at the interior. We got a rocket emblem, globe on the front. So if we take a look at the interior, you can see the front seat is a little rough. It's got some holes in it. The back seat also does have a hole in it. And it's pretty dirty. Mouse nest in here. Here's that bezel. I found that in the glove box along with that mouse nest and can of bug spray. This kitchen checkbook, screwdriver, stuff like that, all those goodies. My plan for the interior is, for now, we're just gonna clean it up the best we can. Eventually, when we get the car going, I do plan on getting the seats recovered. All the door cards and stuff look pretty decent. We will see if we can find a armrest pad. The headliner it has a few holes in it. It looks like all the dye's faded out, but I'm probably just gonna leave that alone for now. So some options you could get with this car were power steering. You could get power brakes. Padded dash was an option. Radio and a clock. And then another option was the Hydromatic 4-speed automatic transmission. And when this car was built, it was built with what I don't think it has any options. It is manual steering, manual brake. It has the 3-speed column shift manual transmission. You can see the shift knob is missing. Somebody put like a thread spool on here or something. This car has the steel dash, no radio, no clock. It's just got globe emblem filler. The clutch feels pretty decent. We'll see how it holds up when we get the car going. The master cylinder is rusted though. Can't get full travel out of the brake. I do have a master cylinder to replace it, and I have some wheel cylinder kits for it. Throttle linkage seems to move freely. I do have a battery in it, so we'll check the lights here, see what all works. So we have tail lights. This headlight doesn't work. This one does. So we'll throw turn signal on. We have a right front. And a right rear. Left rear blinking pretty quick. And surprise, no left front. So let's see, we got blower fan works, horn works. I do believe the windshield wipers are vacuum operated on this car. It has a dual action fuel pump where the top half is a vacuum pump. Got this cool globe in the center of the steering wheel. There's a mirror backing on there, so it looks three-dimensional when you look at it from different angles. So one thing that I did notice on this car was it does have this service sticker on here, and it's hard to see, but there's some things on here, 58,000 miles. I can see 63. A couple other things, 58,000 miles. So if we look here, we have 6,574, 74,900 miles. So it had the wheel bearings packed in 1974 at 74,900 miles. If we take a look at the odometer, it says 75,190. So between 6,574 to when this car was parked, it only had 290 miles put on it, which makes me believe it was probably parked sometime 74, 75, somewhere around there. And if we take a look outside of the car here, we do have 1974 license plates on there, which makes me believe this car has been parked a little longer than the 80s. So it's been off the road for maybe 45 years, and it's in really good shape for being stored that long, really. So we'll pop the hood here. So this is an Oldsmobile Rocket 303 cubic inch overhead valve V8. They came out with this engine in 1949. This is one of GM's first overhead valve V8 engines. In 1953, they raised the compression, and I think they changed the camshaft and stuff. And this car, being a Super 88, has a 4-barrel carburetor, and it makes 165 horsepower, and it's somewhere around 275 or 285 foot-pounds of torque, something like that. It's not a lot in today's standards, but back in the day it was a pretty stout engine. If we look, we got original battery tray. We do have a battery in there. It does have the original air cleaner. One thing I have done is I did pull all the spark plugs out and put a little bit of oil in each cylinder, and then I threw a breaker bar on the crankshaft See if it spins over, and it does spin free. I can probably spin it here by hand. Maybe hard to see, but it does turn. I do have the fan belt off here because our water pump is stuck. I do have a rebuilt water pump with an original GM casting that I will be putting on there. Generator does spin freely. I did wipe some of the grease off the valve cover here so you can see the emblem on the valve cover. So overall, it should be pretty easy to get going. Like I said, the carburetor linkage does move freely. I have pulled the cap off. I cleaned the rotor and checked the points, cleaned those. I have the spark plugs in just finger tight. I do think we are going to have to rebuild the carburetor and fuel pump for sure. And I do have a bunch of parts to go through the ignition. So we will be rebuilding all of that stuff. So what I'm going to do is we're going to change the engine oil on it. I got some Rotella 1030 to put in because this is a hydraulic flat tappet camshaft. We do need an oil with zinc in it. So we're going to run that Rotella for a few heat cycles, and then we're going to dump it, and I have some high zinc Valvoline that I'm going to be putting in it. We are going to have to flush the cooling system. I do have a thermostat for it. Probably going to have to get some radiator hoses. Like I said, I got a water pump for it. So we do got a lot of work to do on it, but we are going to just put some gas on the carburetor and see if we can get it to crank up. It does turn over with the key, which I will show you here. It also does have a neutral safety switch. You got to make sure that's in neutral. And it does crank over pretty well. So we'll put some gas down the carburetor and we'll see if we can get it to fire up. Okay, so what I've done is I dumped some gas with some two-stroke oil mixed in it in the float bowls, so the float bowl is full. I also have hooked up a line to a small gas tank down there, some gas and some two-stroke oil mixed in. We'll see if the fuel pump will draw anything from there. I don't know if it will. I'm sure we're gonna have to rebuild that fuel pump after it's been sitting as long as it has, but we're gonna see how long we can make it run here just on the float bowl full. So let's crank it up, see what it does. See if the accelerator pump works. Almost. Pressure picking up. No idle though. It does sound to me like we do have a vacuum leak, and what I have noticed is somebody had taken this vacuum line off the back of the carburetor that is supposed to come down to the vacuum pump on the top of the fuel pump. They've just taken it and run it into the cab for the windshield wipers, so we might have to plug this off, possibly getting a vacuum leak. So we'll plug that off and I'll put a little more gas down the carburetor and we'll see if we can make something happen. Okay, so I did plug off this vacuum line. We got the float bowls filled with gas. Let's see if we can get it fired up and see if it'll idle. mouse nest stuff that came out of the muffler when we finally got it started. I'm guessing the fuel pump's probably not picking up any gas, but it does idle with what's in the carburetor. So there we go. It does run. We will have to do something with the fuel system, and we are going to go through all the ignition system, and we're gonna get this thing running even better. Alright guys, thank you for watching my video on my Oldsmobile. I do plan on making more videos on fixing this thing up. We'll be getting it running even better than it already does. I also have a lot of other cool projects that I'd like to make some videos on and share with you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.